Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. This is Tanush, and today I'll be speaking about the transit of Saturn in January 2023 to the sign of Aquarius, right? So I'm planning to make this video for two ascendants separately, but the first part would remain the same. So I would speak little bit about the stay of Saturn in Capricorn, and then we'll try to understand what would be the results for Capricorn ascendant when Saturn moves to the sign of Aquarius and for Aquarius ascendant, right? Now, Saturn is a very, very peculiar planet. It's a planet which gives us our karma, a very slow moving planet, right? So we all know that. But Saturn behaves differently when it is in the sign of Capricorn, and it behaves differently when it is in the sign of Aquarius. So this we need to understand, and many things will be clear, right? So it's like a person having dual personality, and the person would behave, differently in different situations. So we have seen this in movies, probably in reality too, but that is how Saturn behaves, right? Now, the sign of Capricorn, we need to understand, is it signifies a lot of hard work, being disciplined, being organized, being patient, putting in 100% efforts, 200% efforts, working continuously, persevere with a lot of patience, and then finally when we are actually eligible, or when we excel in that particular skill set, that is when Saturn actually rewards us, right? Now what happens is, Saturn represents all these things, and the sign of Capricorn also represents the same thing, right? So the sign of Capricorn also represents hard work, patience, perseverance, putting in a lot of efforts, being disciplined, being organized. So it's like Saturn represents the same thing and Capricorn represents the same thing. And when Saturn transited into the sign of Capricorn, it's like we are dealing with two Saturns. It's not one Saturn. It's like we are dealing with two personalities of Saturn, right? And hence things were very tough. Now, one very important thing we need to understand about Saturn in the sign of Capricorn is it brings in fear and anxiety, right? So wherever the sign of Capricorn was, irrespective of your ascendant, it surely brought a lot of fear and anxiety in you related to that particular house, and the houses it holds, meaning the house of Aquarius as well, right? So this has happened, and that was the reason things went too bad, things were tough to deal with, and suppose you have Saturn in the sign of Capricorn in your natal chart and it is retrograde, then it's like the effect would be magnified or multiplied multifold times. It would actually give the same things. So what happens when Saturn is retrograde, and in transit also it gets retrograde? What happens is that first it actually makes things very, very bad. It expects you to understand things, sort those things out, and then work hard towards achieving the goal. And hence most of the people are now kind of tired. They're really tired, and especially if I speak about Capricorn ascendant and even Aquarius, they are actually tired, and they are waiting for the good time to come, right? So unless your dasha, so obviously a lot depends upon which dasha you are going through, and how Saturn is placed, which house and everything, but these are general trends or characteristics of Saturn in the sign of Capricorn. Okay guys, now coming to my Aquarius ascendant friends, right? So from Jan 2020 to the coming 17th Jan 2023, Saturn was in your 12th house, right? Not a very good placement, I would say. You might have experienced issues in your health, loss of money, right? Issues with your family. You might have dealt with lot of debts if you're going through specific dashas. Yes, because Saturn sitting in the 12th house was still is aspecting your 6th house, which is Cancer. And Saturn and Moon, they don't go well together. So surely when Saturn aspects, especially from the sign of Capricorn, like I said, you are dealing with two Saturns at the same time. So when Saturn was aspecting or is still aspecting your 6th house, you might have gone through a hell lot of depths if your dasha was bad or is bad, right? And you might have found it very, very difficult to deal with your expenses, with your money, and for this you might have gone into a lot of depths, right? And you are still struggling with it. Now Jupiter now is direct in your 2nd house, which is going to come to save you, I would say. It would make things better. It already started its forward motion from 24th of November, right? So 2 days back it got direct. Things would be much better. Jupiter would do the damage control, but Saturn surely gave you a lot of issues. You had to deal with different kind of enemies, hidden enemies, enemies at your workplace maybe. In some cases, you might have gone through very stressful period, maybe due to bad health of your mother, right? And people who have very bad placement of Saturn and certain conjunction which I am not going to mention may have gone through even depression, right? And because Saturn was also aspecting your 9th house, things would have been very tough to deal with, because 9th house is our future, our bhagya. And when Saturn sitting in the sign of Capricorn is aspecting the 9th house, then it makes our future very, very tough. And people will get a feeling that I'm not able to sustain this phase of life. It's very, very difficult for me to sustain this phase of life. And suppose on top of that you are going through Sadesati, meaning if your moon was placed in Capricorn, then it would have been a very, very tough time for you guys. I can understand that, right? So now all the bad things are kind of coming to an end, because Saturn would now be transiting into your ascendant, right? So that's a wonderful move, I would say. But when Saturn comes into ascendant, like I mentioned, it brings in a lot of responsibility. But when it is Aquarius, this kind of responsibilities are good for you. They are for uplifting you to a very higher position. So during this kind of transits, so what Aquarius Ascendant people can understand is their personality would now evolve, and they would be now dealing with people, masses, talking to them, getting work done, getting into leadership role, and you guys are going to contribute something to the society. Because Aquarius sign is actually, I mean, I'll talk about that, I'll make a separate video, but it actually is a very karmic sign. Aquarius sign along with Scorpio, it's a very karmic sign, right? So you will be contributing something to the society, for uplifting of a society. And if you are into politics, then this placement is going to be a good one for you, right? And your personality would evolve. Your communication would be wonderful during this period, very balanced, and you will be dealing with masses, like I said. You will be dealing with masses, talking to people, getting work done, putting in a lot of efforts towards that public life as well as your professional life. Now sitting there, it is also aspecting your 7th house. So you will be able to deal with any issues with the marriage or business partnership in a much, much matured way, right? So now that you have dealt with Saturn in your 12th house in Capricorn, you have matured enough to handle situations. And with that knowledge and maturity which Saturn has given you, you are going to handle those kind of situations which might come up in your marriage, and your marriage would be a good one. I mean, if you are planning to get married, this is an excellent time for you, because Jupiter is also in your 2nd house, and which denotes addition to your family. And because Saturn is aspecting the 7th house from the sign of Aquarius, so like I said, it all depends upon which sign Saturn is sitting in. So it might also give you chances to get married or to get into a relationship, right? Now Saturn also aspects your 10th house. So what that means is that you will be dealing with people in authority during this period, and you are going to get wonderful opportunities, wonderful position, and wonderful responsibilities which you can easily deal with because you are matured right now, right? So overall it's going to be a very good transit for you guys. So be prepared. You have gone through a very rough phase of life, I would say, and this is a time where you can reap the results. Obviously a lot depends upon which mahadasha and antardasha you are going through, but in general, because Saturn becomes a very very important planet for you guys, because it's lord of your ascendant, right? So it's one of the most important planet. So you can expect all these things in your life. So stress would come down drastically after 17. So things might be moving in that direction right now, but surely things will get much better. And right now Jupiter is sitting in your second house, and it is also aspecting your 10th house. So between January and 15th of April, you can look out for a job if you're planning for job change. And if you have lost your job, unfortunately, then this is the time where you can look out for that wonderful job, and you'll surely get that job, right? So Aquarius Ascendant, guys, you have a wonderful time ahead. Try to utilize the time, because you have suffered a lot. I can understand that, right? I have seen charts, I know how people have suffered. So this is a time where you can actually relax, get your life back on track, and things would start moving, right? So guys, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Otherwise I will be back with another interesting video anyways, right? Thank you so much.